came from a very humble beginning. My mother had a Senegalese restaurant in Harlem before I was born. And the reason for that restaurant was to give people, West African folks that live in Harlem, a sense of home. And as a kid, I always knew that food was meant to bring people together more than anything. When I was a kid, my parents took me to Senegal, where I was there for the majority of my childhood. And when I returned back, even though I was born in this country, I didn't speak the language because I was in Senegal for nearly a decade. But food was my inspiration for everything, for learning English, getting education, to do what I really wanted to do, which is to nurture people's soul, and I think food is the best way to do it.
My name is Effie, and I'm the co-owner of Dakar NOLA here in New Orleans. And tonight we have one of our seatings where we'll welcome 30 guests. They come in around 6:37, and our dinner experience begins around 7:15. Typically, we pride ourselves on the family-style dining or communal dining because in West Africa, that's typically how people will eat. So through the family communal experience, people are getting to enjoy Senegalese food.
Hello, bonsoir. Welcome to Dakar NOLA. Thank y'all so much for coming into our home. I'm Chef Serigne, chef owner Dakar. I'm so honored that you guys chose us. This restaurant is all about homage to how I grew up in West Africa and Senegal. So that's why anyone that when you go to someone's home in Dakar, they want to greet you. And then when they greet you, they expect you to greet them back before anything happened. So I want to greet you guys into my language, and I want y'all to respond back to me. So if I say nanga def, I want y'all to respond back saying ma gi fi. Ma gi fi. It's like one word, ma gi fi. Nanga def? Wow, that was awesome. Bravo. I think for me, when I think of food, I think of a bridge that has been disconnected. And I think food helped to connect those disconnected bridges, the bond and what the power it has to create such a unique bond. When I first moved to New Orleans, I knew nothing about the history. I'm just a young cook, and still, I was a young cook then and trying to figure out my way into this culinary industry. In New Orleans was a French territory, and Senegal was lastly colonized by French, and there's a huge connection between the two. So at some point, it used to be some Senegalese folks that were born here. And the more I connect those dots and the more I realize how much we inspired Creole and Cajun food, right? Rice was found in West Africa, first found in West Africa. So you could see the rice connection between jollof rice and jambalaya. Gumbo, perhaps it might not be a Senegalese dish, but I would say it's definitely West African. Gumbo is French by standard, what people know of it, but it's actually from West Africa.
To remember that Louisiana was colonized by the French and the Spanish, and at some point, just like we call ourselves American and we come from many different backgrounds, at one time Louisiana was Creole. Creole cuisine is a mixture of many different cultures. It's African, it's indigenous, it's French, it's Spanish. It's also Asian in many ways. And so when we look at 1719, which was a pivotal time when about over 6,000 Senegambia were taken in bondage to Louisiana, that period had a huge influence on the food and the culture and cuisine that was founded in this state. Also, if we look at fried fritters, and in West Africa and Central Africa, you will find people on the side of the road frying fritters all the time. Acarajé in Brazil. We have beignets. They also have beignets in West Africa. In Senegal, you could have beignets. In the Cameroon, you have beignets. So there's definitely this rich culture that already existed way before they were brought in bondage to Louisiana. Chef Serigne Mbaye is such an incredible chef, young, rising chef. He's really working hard to embody what the city just the historical connection between Senegal and New Orleans. I think many of the dishes that he serves isn't any different from the dishes that we eat all the time.
How's the soup? Is it good? That's awesome. That's awesome. And then we go into the second course, which we call it the last meal. This dish is probably one of the most talked about dish in our menu. This dish, the last meal, I mean, is, as we sit here, you know, it's hard to talk about. Not every dish that we eat has a pleasant story, and we need to really acknowledge it and respect it and know where it comes from. So one of my last trip to Dakar, I visited an island called Gore Island, which is one of the door no return is. Such a small, beautiful island. And our ancestors used to be in these houses. They call them the maison des esclaves, which means the house of slaves. And they were living in these brutal conditions. But before they shipped them out of the sea through the Middle Passage, they weighed them. They had to weigh 60 kilos in order to pass the door no return. Because if they weren't 60 kilos, they weren't going to make it through the Middle Passage. What they did was fed them black-eyed peas and palm oil to fatten them up quickly. In our restaurant, you know, we try to tell that story, but also let the dish shine in its own way, because it's a very beautiful dish as well. So we have a lovely black-eyed peas that's grown here in Louisiana with some palm oil. We do some beautiful fish stock that we did in-house, kind of cook that together, let it smother for hours. And then we have a beautiful Louisiana rice that we cook to perfection, dehydrated to remove all the moisture, and then we fry it just to puff up the rice, and we put it on top of the soup, and it gives it this beautiful crunchy texture while you're eating this soft black-eyed peas. I truly believe that this dish is going to be probably one of the most talked about dish within the next decade. Yeah, it's powerful. So I hope you guys enjoyed this experience, and thank y'all so much for coming into our home. We hope this food nurture your soul. We hope you guys leave here feeling inspired by West African cuisine. Thank y'all so much.
What I really appreciate about Chef Serigne is his intentional approach to not only telling his own story, which definitely needs to be elevated, but also telling the New Orleans story. I think he's on the rise. I think he's just getting started, but with all of what he's doing already, I mean, 10, 20 years from now, it's going to be amazing. What I see for the future of New Orleans food is more accepting every cuisine, because I think every culture has a story, and I think that every culture could benefit from. And I think through the food, we all realize how much we all have in common. bëgg leen wax benn message rek ne maa ngi fi Louisiana am benn restaurant boo xam ne mu doon restaurant sénégalais te li ko tax a jóg mooy bu ma nekkee Sénégal di togg daara.